good. And I can get
Yeah.
into more of the game later
Let's
on.
just get into it. So the Bucks Nets they played today, the first game of the season. We had the ring ceremony. Giannis said he wanted a ring at least as big as his brother Costas from when he won his Lakers championship. And I think he got it, man. That was big bling, and it was nice to see our neighbors over there in Milwaukee be able to celebrate. It was a great game for Jordan Nwora
Hmm.
and a solid game for Giannis and a great game for Pat Connaughton. I mean, might not even need to trade him for a guy who's a solid shooter because he might be it after the night, huh?
Yeah, I mean he struggled at the first half, but he just kind of once every all the starters went away, he just started sinking him, get his average
Yeah,
back up. He's like,
yeah,
oh, I can't end at 16%.
yep. No, he
Uh,
shot 8 of 13. He got 4 of 9 from three. I mean, more than what you can hope for with Connaughton. So
yeah, I think this game really came out. I mean, Portis, DiVincenzo were out off injury. I think this really came down to once they started getting into the game, they're like, we got to get all these young shooters out there. We got to see how they're going to do. Got to fit them back in.
yeah,
Like Norwa, mainly Norwa and Allen. Allen started for them as shooting guard, and he did pretty well. I think he did
yep,
what he was supposed to, and I think Norwa. So there's a few guys that fell into this issue that I'll bring up that he started the game off thinking it was preseason, doing all these like step backs. I'm like, okay, man, it's the
yeah.
regular season. You can't be
It's
doing that
time to
stuff now.
buckle down now.
And he did on the second half. He just started hitting his shots, a lot of catch and shoots. I really like how they played their offense around Harden. So I'm the Bucks. So the Bucks would you would Harden got switched on to Giannis a lot. So naturally you'd be like, oh yeah, just mouse in the house, pull him back, get him into the paint. But it was really interesting because he would get into the paint enough where they would. I mean, they have to bring in help because it's Giannis on Harden, right? So as soon as the help dropped in, they would get that free shooter, and they're just letting their young players shoot it, and like they did it 5 or 6 times, and it was either Norwa, Allen in the corner, sometimes or
Yep.
they'd find him and make the next pass to Drew Holiday on the wing at the beginning of the game. Like it worked out really well for them, and I think that was where they shined.
Yep.
Um,
No, it's a good formula. I mean, have good shooters around a guy who can get double teamed in the paint so he can dish it out to one of them. It's foolproof. You always get someone wide open. And this Bucks team, that's why we think they need more shooters. It only
mhm.
makes more sense to build upon that. But they do have some solid guys here, at least right now, who can be called upon, like tonight.
Yeah, for sure. But on the net side, it
Patty
you really
Mills, 7 of 7 from
yeah, Patty
three.
Mills, great pickup, but you really saw the absence of Kyrie. Not in the fact, like aside from the fact that Kyrie's uh top 5 point guard in the league, you really saw the absence because there was no one else. It was Harden was doing everything he could. Durant was doing everything he could, but it was mainly those two just leading the charge. I mean, no one else was in double figures aside from Patty Mills. They just couldn't create. LaMarcus Aldridge was struggling out there. Nick Claxton. I mean, they just had what they did with the playoffs, and they just had their center guard Giannis. It's gonna be a huge struggle. Like people didn't forget about like how they have to like get this defensive system, and they have to completely learn a new system because their third best star is out. And like
Yeah.
aside from people being like, oh well, like people want to jump to be like, oh well, they have three of the best superstars because they do, but like when one is out, like that's 40 million in cap. You could have like a few other players, that they could have
Yeah.
signed, and that's like even when they're gone. Obviously, there's the gone, but there's the expectation like when they don't show up, like there's no one else, especially on this
Yeah.
team. Like, but I was surprised that if going into like the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter Cam Thomas and Bruce Brown were DNPs until like the trash time came in and they let all the younger players in. But
Yeah. Yeah. Bruce Brown, one of their better defenders last season and one of their better young players overall. Kind of surprising to see him not play, but they brought in some veteran talent this year and LaMarcus Aldridge is back. So
yeah, I mean Javion Carter took Bruce Brown's
Jalen
spot.
Carter,
I really thought I mean I didn't get that at all. I mean I didn't see why they would replace it in watching the game. I didn't see why this guy is in for Bruce Brown. Like Bruce Brown was healthy. He could have went. I mean, he came into the game at the very end. So
Yep.
he's that effort player. He was like a huge part of their perimeter defense. I mean,
I
he guarded
mean,
every
a
position for
suggestion
them.
that they had on the telecast was that perhaps they want to see what they have in these new guys like Javion Carter, and they know what they have in Bruce Brown already. So at least for the first couple of games, you'd be like, all right, here's what we got. How does that fit in with guys like Bruce Brown and our other dudes? Now we know, okay, now we'll play Bruce Brown more maybe on this matchup or, whatever else. And, they're bound to have injuries. It's an older team. I'm not too worried about Cam Thomas and Bruce Brown getting playing time, because I think realistically, like a lot of these guys are going to need rest on this team. Even if they don't have like any actual injuries, like they're just going to need time off.
Yeah, I just thought it was the season opener. Is now the time to like start, and I thought this was a pretty big game for them. I mean, it's the Eastern Conference Finals rematch, and they're gonna have to go through the Bucks if they want to get to the finals. So I thought this was a huge, like, I mean, they did take it seriously, but I would have thought this was a thing where it's like we'll test the games after this, like the Philly game. I mean, that's a good time to test because Philly's testing.
I'm sure realistically they didn't think like making that type of experiment was a big enough difference where they would have lost. Like they probably still think, hey, you know what? Either way, Durant and Harden are starting either scenario. So we have a great chance to win either way.
Right. But otherwise, man, it's just gonna be. I think it's gonna be a huge struggle if he doesn't show up. I mean, referring to Kyrie.
I don't know about huge struggle. I mean, they're still the best team in. I mean, maybe not the best team in the East, but they're right up there, top 2, top 3. So,
well,
I don't see many issues for them.
Kyrie was a huge issue, especially like it kind of showed that's what I pulled out of this game. I was like, the Bucks defense, like why they were losing so bad even before, like at the start of the conference finals, was like the Nets. Their thing is they're supposed to be like the best offensive team in the league, but without Kyrie, it really hurts their offense, and it brings it down to where like the Bucks defense, if they just play have some good offense going like they did today, like that's enough,
Yeah. No, I
think that's they come down to they're mortal now.
Yeah, I mean,
weakness.
Oh, for sure. I mean, but in a 7-game series, we'll see. Like, I definitely think they could still beat the Bucks in a 7-game series. And we still have a whole regular season to play. This team will absolutely be buyers at the deadline, and they'll make changes if they need to. And I think they've got a real solid squad right now. They've got to maybe build a little bit of chemistry, get through the adversity of Kyrie. And Kyrie also could get his vaccine at any point this season. The New York restrictions, they could change, and they could just casually add a top 5 point guard, just like it's nothing. So who knows if that will happen? But as things are right now, I mean, they're still great. Like, I'm not going to overreact to one game against the Bucks. The Bucks are the best defensive team in the league, and it's quite possible that the Nets do not match up well against the Bucks. Which, if that's the case, they better hope that they just don't see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I did really appreciate that they had when he was in the game, Drew Holiday was guarding Kevin Durant. I love when shorter guards like Pat Bev and those type of guards guard Durant, because I just feel like he has so much more problems with them, and I don't know why.
It's probably just like so
mental
more than like mental.